Hi. In today's lesson, you guys are going to work on multiplying monomials. So really, this is just an extension of the other exponent rules. The only difference is this lesson, we're going to start introducing variables. So really quickly, I want you to pause the video and I want you to read through this information that I have circled. Great. Now that you've done that, now let's get to some problems to practice on. Okay, so the directions here just say to simplify. All right, so let's look at the very first problem. It's y times y to the fifth. Remember that if you have a number, a variable, what have you, and you don't see the exponent, it is understood that the exponent is a 1. Also know that this is the same as y to the first times y to the fifth. This is not going to be the power rule. This is actually an application of the product rule, which means that the exponents get added. So this would be y to the sixth power, and that's it. Let's try another one. So for number 2, you got n squared times n to the 7th power. Again, this is the product rule, so we're going to add those exponents. So that'd be n to the 9th power. Okay, let's look at number 3. So now we have negative 7x squared times x to the 4th. So for this one, really, we can just bring down that negative 7. And when we do the x squared times x to the 4th, well, let me actually write it like this. Let me scratch that. Let's spread it out. Negative 7 times x squared times x to the 4th. That's what that means. So when I do x squared times x to the 4th, that would be x to the 6th power. So my final answer here is negative 7 x to the 6th. The x is being taken to the 6th power, not the negative 7. Oops. Okay, let's try another one here. Let's look at number 4. So we've got x times x squared times x to the 4th. Remember, that's the same as x to the 1st. This could be rewritten as x to the 1st times x squared times x to the 4th, like this. So those all have the same base of x, and we're going to add up the exponents. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7. So it is x to the 7th power. Okay, let me skip around. I'm going to skip all the way to number 14, and then you'll do some on your own. So this one, we have more than one variable because I see x's and y's. So again, if you wanted to, you could space it out like this. Okay, and when you're multiplying numbers, remember it doesn't matter what order you multiply in, so I actually could rearrange all of that. So I could put the constants together, I could put the x's together, and the y's together. So really, if I'm doing negative 5 times 4, that's negative 20. X times x squared, remember that's the same as x to the 1st. Well, that would be x cubed, and y to the 1st times y to the 4th would be y to the 5th. So my final answer will be 20x cubed y to the 5th. I'm sorry, negative 20. Okay, so now I'm going to let you take a turn. So I want you to do 5 through 13 and also number 15. So pause the video and complete those problems. Okay, so hopefully you did well with this activity. So I have really shown each step of my work to hopefully make it easy for you to understand how I got my final answer. Make sure that you are circling or highlighting your final answer to make it really easy for me to see. You need to pause the video now and check each of your answers to these problems to make sure that you've got them correct. Okay. So now that you've had a chance to do that, let's go to the second page of this assignment. So the second page, it talks more about multiplying monomials, and I want you to pause the video and read through this information. Great. All right, so now let's do a few examples together. Okay, so this time we're going to come into contact with that power to a power rule. So for number 1, we've got y to the 5th squared. And so remember that that power rule says we keep the base and then we multiply our exponents. So that's just going to be y to the 10th. And that's it for number 1. For number 2, again, you're going to keep the base and then multiply your exponents. 7 times 4 is 28, so it's going to be n to the 28th power. Okay, and let's try number 3. So this one is a little bit different. So first, you've got to do x squared to the 5th power. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. So that's going to be x to the 10th times x cubed. Now I can apply my product rule. So that's going to be x to the 13th power. Okay, let's look at number 4. So this is where a lot of students get tripped up. That -3 is outside of the parentheses. So I'm going to just bring that down. But notice that the AB to the 4th is all being cubed or taken to the 3rd power. So everything inside the parentheses is going to be taken to the 3rd power. So the A would be taken to the 3rd power, so it'd be times A cubed, and the B to the 4th to the 3rd power. So that means that these exponents right here get multiplied. So that would be to the 12th. So my final answer is -3A cubed B to the 12th power. Let's do another one. Now this time, notice the -3 is inside of the parentheses. So each one of these pieces, the -3, the A, and the B to the 4th, each piece would be taken to the 3rd power. So I'm going to take the -3 to the 3rd power times A to the 3rd times B to the 4th to the 3rd, which means that's going to be B to the 12th. Now when I do -3 to the 3rd power, let me back up. Since you're now dealing with variables here, we're not going to leave this as -3 in parentheses cubed. We're actually going to figure out the value of that. So remember that means -3 times -3 times -3. So that's 9 times -3, which is -27. So I end up with -27 A cubed B to the 12th power. Okay, so that's number 5. Let's do number 6, and then you can do some on your own. So the whole expression, 4x squared b, is taken to the 3rd power. So the 4 gets taken to the 3rd power, or cubed. The x squared gets taken to the 3rd power, which means the exponents get multiplied. So it becomes x to the 6th, and the b gets taken to the 3rd power. So I need to figure out what is 4 cubed, which is 4 times 4 times 4, or 16 times 4. So that'd be 64 x to the 6th b cubed. Okay, now it's your turn. So now I want you to do problems 7 through 18 on your own, and some of these get a little tricky, but take your time. I'm confident you can get this. Okay, now that you've had an opportunity to try these problems on your own, you're going to want to pause the video to look over the work that I've done, and you're going to want to check my work against your work. Give yourself a check if you got it right, an X if you got it wrong, and remember that if you got it wrong, write down the correct work to the side. I tried to show every single step so that you guys can really understand my thought process. Again, if you've got questions about any of the problems on this sheet or the previous sheet, remember to bring them to me during your Zoom session. Once you've uploaded this, you'll be ready to try the independent practice. Good luck.